Hello, today I'll be talking about basic trig. That's sine, cosine, and tangent, and just finding the different angles and sides of a triangle. All you need for that is to know the identities. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent, where theta, that symbol, is the angle that you get. A lot of people remember by SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. It's probably the best way to know it. Alright, so first example, we have a triangle. The hypotenuse is 6. Hypotenuse is always the longest side. And it's across from the 90-degree angle. So our hypotenuse is across from the 90-degree angle. But we need to find all of the sides and angles of this triangle. Well, the angles are pretty easy because we know this is 90 and this is 10, so that's 100, and it adds up to 180. So we know this angle has got to be 80. Okay? Finding sides is a little bit different because we have to use sine, cosine, and tangent. So say we wanted to find this side, x, and we'll call this side y. Well, our given angle is 10 degrees. From that, the opposite side is x. So we're going to use opposite over what we're given, which is a hypotenuse. So we're using sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. We need the opposite. We have the hypotenuse. So we set it up. Sine of theta is 10 equals x over 6. So to solve, all we have to do, since we're dividing, we multiply by 6 on both sides. So x equals 6 times sine of 10, which happens to be 1.04. So to find y, we do something similar, except this is adjacent to that angle. So we have the adjacent side, and we're given the hypotenuse. We could use this now, but I'm not going to. So we have our adjacent angle and our hypotenuse. Adjacent and a hypotenuse means we have to use cosine. So we have to find y. Cosine of 10 degrees equals y over 6. And we solve it a similar way. We multiply by 6. So y is 6 times cosine of 10, which is 5.9. Alright, so those are our x and y, and we found everything. Okay, so we can start on our second. So here, doesn't matter the orientation, just matters what sides you're using. That'll tell you whether you use sine, cosine, or tangent. So, here, we have an unknown angle, but we know that's 50 degrees and that's 90. 50 plus 90 is 140, and it adds up to 180, so this has to be 40. But we're not going to use that because that's our given angle. So, this is our hypotenuse. Say we want to solve for that first, x. So, we have our angle. Across from that angle means 12 is the opposite, and we're solving for the hypotenuse. So, we need sine again. So, sine of our angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. So this is a little bit different because first we have to move x, because we can't do anything with x on the bottom. So we multiply by x, multiply by x. So x sine of 50 equals 12. And to solve for x, you divide by sine of 50. Alright? So we divide by sine of 50, so x equals sine of 50 over 12 which is equal to 15.7. Alright, so we found our hypotenuse is 15.7, about. Now we need to find this side. We'll call y. And we'll use the same angle. Alright, so since we're going to use 50, we have the opposite and we're finding the adjacent. It's not the hypotenuse. So opposite and adjacent, we're using tangent. So, tangent 50 equals opposite over adjacent, so 12 over y and then you solve for y, we get y equals 12 divided by 50. Once you do tangent 50, once you do the math. And we find y equals 10.1. So now we have everything in the triangle. This one's a little bit different. They give us two sides, but no angles, so we have to figure out what that is. If you've already taken a whole trig class, you would already know what the angles are because of a specific trait of this triangle. But we don't. So let's go ahead and use the Pythagorean Theorem to find this. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is 2, so we have 2 squared, which is 4. So we have 1 squared is 1 plus b squared equals 4. So therefore b squared equals 3, if you minus the 1. So b is the square root of 3. So we can fill that in. Now we have to find our angles. So we'll try and find this angle first. Alright, we'll call that theta. Now once we find that angle, this is going to be easy because we know there's 180 degrees in a triangle. So we have our given sides are opposite and hypotenuse. Alright? So opposite and hypotenuse means we use sine. So sine of theta, which we don't know, is opposite 1 over 2. To solve for theta, we don't divide by sine. That doesn't make sense. We use the opposite of sine, which is arcsine, or sine inverse. So we're going to take the inverse sine of both sides. And the inverse sine of 1/2 happens to be 30 degrees. So this theta is 30 degrees, which means we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, next problem is a word problem. Jane walks north 10 miles and east 6 miles. How far from her starting point is she? And what is the angle of inclination from the east direction? Alright, so first we should probably draw a triangle. We have Jane at her starting point, and she walks 10 miles north, and then she walks 6 miles east. So 6 miles here, 10 here. how far from her starting point is she? So that's going to be this distance. That'll be our hypotenuse. And what is the angle of inclination from the east direction? Well, the east direction is this way. What is the angle of inclination from that? So we're looking at this triangle, actually. Not the original triangle that she walked, but kind of a projected one under it. So we can make that triangle from that. And we know the sides of this triangle are 6 and 10. We could use the Pythagorean Theorem to make this easy to find the hypotenuse. So that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Where a and b are 6 and 10. So we have 6 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. We can take the square root of both sides and simplify as much as possible. So that'll just give us c equals 36 plus 100 is 136. So as a decimal, this is 11.6. So that's our total distance from our starting point. It's 11.6. Now it also asks for the angle of inclination from the east direction. Okay, so we're looking for this angle right here. Alright, so to find this angle, we need, this is our theta, we need to figure out which one we're using. So we have theta, we have 10, and we have 6. We could use 11.6, but these are perfect numbers, so let's use them. So we have theta, the opposite, and the adjacent. So we need to use tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent, so 10 over 6. And we solve for theta by getting rid of tangent by using arctangent again on both sides. Okay? So we get theta ends up being about 59 degrees. So if theta is 59 degrees, and we know this is 90 degrees, this should be 31 degrees up here. So that's our other angle. So we got this is 59, this will be 31, if we need it. It didn't ask for it. It was just asking for our theta, our angle of inclination from the east direction. Alright, and our last problem. An air balloon rises to 100 feet in the air. What is the total distance from a house when the angle of declination is 50 degrees? So let's first draw a triangle. The balloon rose 100 feet in the air. And then our house is over here. A badly drawn house. And it also gives us an angle of declination. So we're finding this side because it wants to know the total distance from the house. So total distance is going to be the hypotenuse. So we're finding x here, the hypotenuse. Since it gave us the angle of declination, that's not on the triangle. That's actually this angle right here. That's 50 degrees. We know this is 90 degrees, so this has to be 40. And this is going to be, since this is a 90-degree angle, 50. We also know this from geometry. Opposite angles are the same. Alright, so we can use our angle of 50 degrees with the opposite side is 100 and the hypotenuse. So since we have opposite and hypotenuse, we're using sine theta. So sine theta, sine of 50 is opposite from 50 over hypotenuse, which is what we're finding. So when we move x over, we're multiplying x, so it's going to be, and then we're dividing sine of 50, so it's going to be x equals 100 over sine 50. So x happens to be 130.5. And that's it for today.